Isn't this place so relaxing and cheerful? After all that lot of hard work we've done, but even then though, Sonic, we're going to the end. Hey everybody, this is me, Sylvester here, and I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here. We are back for some more Community Toys videos, of course. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Super Mario 3D World for the Nintendo Wii U. So last time we managed to tackle through probably the longest world in the entire game, next to World Bowser, and now see forms of World Flower. Even though there are some mistakes here and there which we instantly try to make, but even then, it's not that too bad of a flawless run through, although despite there's some couple of deaths in that world. And today for this episode, we're about to continue on and move on to probably the finale part of Super Mario 3D World, and also informs of how the fact that we're going to be exploring the final world in the entire game, called World Crown. Now, there's not much else around here, besides there are only 3 main levels, excluding the sprinkly tent, as you guys can clearly see. That we got ourselves the final Captain Toad level, and of course the final Mystery House level, and of course the final main level in the game, Champion Road. World Crown, I say. But even then, that crown right there is very similar model as opposed to the likes of Boss Blitz Galaxy from the likes of Super Mario Galaxy 2. But I digress though for that. You know, the crown model. So, the stuff we've got right there is the 8-bit sprite of, I'm assuming Mario, because even then though, that was the only time we're going to be getting ourselves the stamp to begin with from the get-go. And this might be the final time we're going to be seeing the sprinkly tent for reals this time around, because even then though, that, if you thought that World Star was the final time we're going to be seeing that, but it turns out that World Crown is the final time we're going to be seeing this, so there's no way we can go back for it because obviously we've already obtained the actual stamp itself. So anyways, let's get started with World Crown, starting with World Crown Captain Toad, Captain Toad's Fury Finale. So as far as I can tell, that this might actually be the toughest Captain Toad level, because as far as I can tell, although from the looks of it though, it kind of reminds me of almost related to World Castle counterpart, except the fact that there's no womps or anything else of that designable, or in this case, swamps, if you will, as well as there's no conveyor belts, so it's instead that we actually got ourselves just only one enemy, and also in forms of the fiery piranha plant. And also not to mention that the lava is continuously rising up and sometimes desync it, so yeah, you don't want to touch the lava, because obviously if we do touch the lava, and especially if we're going to get hit by the spewing fireball from that fiery piranha plant, we're expecting we're going to have to restart the entire level again. So even then though, this might be really tough for first time players. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I couldn't really tell without the fact that the fireball was coming, because even then though, that's, yeah, because of that though, oh yeah, we got ourselves these blowing fans stuff on the gamepad, so we actually blow out, so just in case we don't want to die from that instantly. So, yeah, this might be, whoa! Oh, goodness gracious, that was close. But I digress though, so even then though, we're pretty much almost nearly towards the end actually, so even then though, we can hopefully guarantee to actually survive through all this rat. We'll try again. Alright, so let's hope we can actually avoid those stuff, so even then, let's just see how this goes. No! I did that too early. Damn it. Alright, we got to the end at least, so let's try that again for as a third time's a charm already. So there we go, finally. I don't know what it is, but for some reason that I found myself that I'm constantly dying a lot anyway in this level. It's probably because I found the fact that you need to be quite fast when it comes to not getting touched by the lava at all. And also that you get yourselves a stamp on this level, unlike in any other Captain Toad levels that it doesn't have a stamp. But this level only contains a stamp, which actually contains Captain Toad himself. So, we've pretty much gone through almost all of these stamps basically. I believe we actually got ourselves like, I would say 7 left actually. And same goes for the likes of green stars as well, which I believe we're actually off by 33 green stars left. And speaking of such, is that we're going to be moving on to the next level, which is the forms of Mystery House Marathon. And before worth mentioning though is the fact that we'll save Champion Road for last, because I'll explain more details onto that level once we actually finish this level first. So here we go, Mystery House Marathon, aka probably the toughest Mystery House level in the entire game. Well, first off, you do have to start things off with well, obviously that we're going to be going through the entirety rooms again, but except the fact that we have to go through not only one of them, or 5 or 10, but we have to come across into 30 different sections. Because as you guys can clearly tell, that in this level in particular, as you can see on this little green star count, onto these outlines of the green stars we haven't sort of collected, there are a grand total of 30 green stars, which is quite a lot of green stars to our disposal. So even then though, the ultimate challenge in this is the fact that we don't actually just make one simple mistake, because if we do, then we have to go through the entire mystery house again, or if you accidentally died on that particular level. So you have to be very fast and pretty much test the patience going on here, especially noticeable how the fact that this is easily the most difficult mystery house in the entirety of Super Mario 3D World has to offer, and how in the world did I get that hit? I didn't manage to get hit right there. So, as you can see on this footage right there, we're trying to make these particular green star locations very simple and easy, but believe me, if you have a first time playing for this particular level, that you're gonna get a lot of trouble with this level, especially noticeable at the very end. Well, specifically onto the 11th room, because whenever I first time playing for this level, whenever we first got this game back in June, you remember the fact that in Christmas 2013, back in long time ago, and almost 4 years ago, there was that 11th floor that always gives me trouble with, which you'll see why in just a moment. But anyways, let's go ahead and just get onto this swamp and grab this green star, so we naturally got 10 of those at the moment. Yeah, this is the room I was talking about. Sometimes I always get mistakes on that room, but as long as you actually get to figure out the pattern of this particular wall ice, so even then though, if you do this well enough, then you should be able to pass it. So even then though, that, yeah. So naturally, I think we are pretty much almost at the halfway point, even though we're actually on, I don't know about the quarter path, but in the third half portion of it. I don't know about you, but I digress. So anyways, let's go ahead and just get ourselves our Cat Bell power-up with us. So I highly recommend that power-up, honestly, because it makes this entire mystery box level entirely with no problem. Oh, goodness gracious me. I almost screwed up on that last split second. But I digress. Yeah, this part can give you trouble sometimes, especially with those bead blocks that's going to go really too freaking fast at that one point. Thankfully though, there's actually this glowing spot between the previous room, especially in this room, that you can actually grab yourselves a spare catsuit power-up whenever you like to get that to your disposal. So yeah, it's a pretty cool idea, and especially recommendable if you're actually having a hard time on this level, or even if you don't have the catsuit power-up with you, then you should definitely recommend doing that. And I think we're actually on a halfway point now, actually, so we got about 15 green stars left. Oh yeah, for this rabbit section, I highly recommend using the Wii U gamepad, so just in case you just distract him. So just in case it just makes it a tiny bit more easier. But if you're having a hard time just actually catching that damn rabbit, then I highly suggest you do that. So, yeah, as far as I can really say how this is going, so, yeah, let's go ahead and just use the cat scaling wall climbing through here. I think this is the part I actually got into last time I played this level, because even then though, it took me a lot of tries on this level, because you know, you still have 10 seconds to your disposal, and if the time runs out, then you have to redo the whole entire sequence again, so even then though, starting from the beginning to the very end. So, and among the same lines is that most likely Captain Toad's fiery finale, this level also contains the stamps. Even then though, that between the Captain Toad levels and especially the Mystery House levels, they don't exactly have the stamps to begin with, but at least the two finale ones, these two have their only levels, they only have the stamps to begin with. So, yeah, it's a pretty noticeable differences here. So anyways, let's see if we can actually just, yeah, you have to try to kill the potted piranha plants before you try to get a green star to your disposal anyway, so I believe we actually got 5 more left, actually, so even then though, we're pretty much almost done. And I believe we can guarantee we can actually able to do this on the first try, actually, because I know for the fact that for the first time Let's Players out there, or even casual players as a result, sometimes they can get a lot of trouble with this level, probably due to how the puzzles do actually work out to be. So, yeah, we're pretty much almost done here, so, run, there we go. So, we only got 2 green stars to go. So, let's see if we can actually kill this Boom Boom here. So, even though sometimes that death animation can take a little bit dragged on, but I just want to get the last 2 green stars done. So, even then though, that the 30th and the final green star, there aren't any enemies involved, so instead it's just basically just a couple of coins falling down, especially the stack of coins, and the stamp of course, and the 30th and the final green star. So there we go, that concludes the Mystery House Marathon, and that will pretty much does it for the Mystery House levels. So even then though, it's a quite a bit endurance run basically with this particular level itself. So even then, that if you're having a hard time on this level, then just keep trying, because even then once you get a lot of practice on this level, then the more better you can become. So let's see how much green stars we've got right about now. 377! But that's not all, however, though, is that the final 3 green stars are going to be located onto the very last level in the game, so that could be something a little bit of exhibitions right there. Okay, quicker right there, sorry about that folks, it's just the fact that how we're gonna have to grind ourselves our super leaves real quickly, because I highly recommend using that power up, because much like how it does in Super Mario 3D Land's Special 8 Crown, that you do need to recommend doing this power up because it makes the entire level so easier. But the thing is about this particular level alone, called Champion Road, this is by far the toughest, I mean the hardest level in the entirety of the Special World levels, and even the hardest level in the entirety of the 3D Mario game's history. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. So, oh yeah, one thing I have to mention is the fact that, as you can see, we got ourselves these little tiny square icons. This means is that it represents that Kyrgyz has been completely done with the stage itself, which we will get into more details onto that as soon as we get into the actual stuff of how this game offers to be. So even then though, we can actually get into that. So, here we go. I'm not looking forward to this level actually, because I'm not looking forward to actually get into Champion's Road. So, anyways, let's get started with World Crown Champion Road. But forewarning, as I mentioned earlier, that it's really recommendable to actually use the Super Leaf power-up, and also choose Luigi, because Luigi is so good when it comes to high jumps. So even then though, as soon as you actually play as him, you should have a really comfortable time during this level. So even then though, that, oh boy, I must have really pumped up for this point, because even then though, that this is kind of like how it does it in Special World 8-Crown, that it's usually kind of similar, except the fact that the noticeable difference this time around though is the fact that we don't able to face off between Boom Boom and Pom Pom this time around though, so even then though, it just makes the level not so much dragged on or anything like that, so yeah, things is getting a little bit more not too confusing or anything like that, that's being desirable. So yeah, you know, you probably know it's much like how it does in Super Mario 3D Land Special World 8 Crown, and especially in the Perfect Run or the Grand Master Galaxy in Super Mario Galaxy 2, you're gonna have to come across into those different segments with those very difficult platforming sections, so even then though, that's as far as memories goes, that's all I can say about it. And also you get yourselves these 3 green stars you do need to worry about, so even then luckily though, there are 3 of them, so, and also at the same lines, they're all in plain sight, so even then though, they're not in a very well hidden place or anything else allowed desirable, so, yeah, so for the most part it checks out there, but the ones that many people seem to get a lot of trouble with, and those forms at the very end of Champion Road. You'll see why in just a moment. But for the most part, if you know what you're doing, then you should be fine. But again, because of how the fact that, yeah, this is easily the hardest 3D Mario stage in the entire history. Because, geez, I must have replayed this level for about, I would say 70 amount of times. Because even then though, there are so many ways you can die in this level. Because again, if you made one simple mistake, and if you manage to get rid of the both of those Super Leaf power-ups, you're gonna get screwed. And if you manage to get hit or fall off to a bottomless pit, or even get hit by the enemies too many times, you will gonna get screwed as well. You pretty much need to be perfect in everything you get in this goddamn final level in the game. And especially noticeable, you don't want to get any sort of mistakes. Kind of like how it does it in Rayman for the PlayStation 1, by the way, which even then though, that game does also has a tradition of, oh, you gotta be kidding me. But even then though, still, we actually got ourselves our Tanuki power-up with us, so even then though, that we should able to be fine. So, yeah, for the most part, it checks out for this point right here, but, oh my god, I just can't believe how the fact that we actually got into it this so far, and originally that we haven't exactly going to be doing this Let's Play originally, because how the fact that we actually did manage to get stuck in not only one, but both levels in this world alone, which informs of, well, first off, Champion Road, because this is easily the hardest 3D Mario stage as a result. I would say the same applies to how it does it for the Perfect Run in Super Mario Galaxy 2, but even then though, between these two, I would say this level is easily the hardest, which I'll say the Perfect Run is easily the second hardest level in the entirety of the 3D Mario games, but even then though, still, it's probably to predict. But anyways, this final section, oh for the love of God, I absolutely hate this part. I think the reason being for that is because, first off, they send us the boost pads, and sometimes they have the fact that you have to dodge these electricity parts here and there too. But here's one little problem. If you want to actually stop, if you want to go in a complete stop, you have to be sure you need to actually just get used to with these boost pads, which believe me, no, God, dang it, I told you about this part. Well, second attempt, so here we go. And yeah, believe me, if you manage to get screwed over at least once, I highly recommend you close the software if you don't accidentally save the game. So even then though, that the only downside you can think of is the fact that if you manage to lose a life, you'll restart into that certain point when if you become a super form again. And not only that, but you won't get yourself any power-ups on this place. So even then though, that's a little bit of a nitpicking right there. So anyways, we got ourselves all 3 of these green stars. In addition to this last part, we need to grab 3 or 5 key coins, and then boom, there we go, yeah! Second attempt. Oh, that's kind of funny actually, Sonic. What's that? You know how the fact that definitely already tackled through Super Mario Galaxy 2 from the likes of the Perfect Run. I'm guessing that he did also manage to do this 2 attempts. Oh, same thing happens in here. Oh, that's so genius. So anyways, much like how it does in Super Mario 3D Land, if you manage to reach to the very end of this level alone, you get yourself a thank you message, which this means is that you've pretty much done through everything. So anyways, you got yourself some coins along the way, especially this nice little rainbow slamp over there, and even those famous characters like these Captain Toads here, and even these bunnies over there, some fairies, and even their Plushly, and even the Lumas as a result too. And there's our 80th stamp over there. Now I say the 80th, not the final stamp mind you, because there's actually more to it than that, because you see that currently we actually got ourselves 80 stamps, as far as I might add, and also we managed to achieve ourselves the final golden flag. So even then, the stamp on this level is the forms of the Lucky Cat Mario. So yeah, we did manage to done this level for about 2 attempts, which is really good, considering how the fact that I know some people do have a lot of trouble with this level at first because of how the fact that how difficult this level can be. Which even then though, I can honestly agree, this is easily the hardest level in the entirety of the 3D Mario games. So anyways, we got ourselves all 380 green stars, more so to 242 power stars in Super Mario Galaxy 2 as a result. Yeah, which is quite a bit insanity for the most part. So anyways, as you can see that we've pretty much gone through 80 stamps, but again, there's not much to it though, because yeah, thank you person right there in the middle for actually telling us for that hint. So as you can see that we still only got 5 more stamps left, which means we'll get into later, because first things first, we're gonna have to tackle through that little extra thing that we haven't sort of showcased off in this particular Let's Play just yet. And also informs us that it's going to be located in World 5 somewhere. Now, remember how the fact that we're going to be actually finding those hidden warp pipes onto these every single world maps to our disposal? That's what we're going to be doing for this couple of extra stuff we're going to be showcasing afterwards. So, yeah, let's go ahead and showcase extra part number 1, and also informs of this hidden World 5 gold train. Now, you guys are probably thinking that how on earth are we able to get all the way to there? Well, simply hit into World 5, and then you have to find yourselves this warp pipe, which you can only activate once the A button showed up, and then that way, the warp pipe should be appeared. And once at it, then you can actually choose between those 2 different routes to the which warp pipe you're going to be taken into. If you take the ones on the bottom, then it will actually lead you back into World 1, which that will just actually more accurately act out as like a shortcut of any kind. And also, if we actually hit on to the top portion of this warp pipe over there, onto this very small island, and this will actually lead you to the golden train itself. which kind of looks a bit, it kind of reminds me of almost related to the likes of World 3 Train, and especially noticeable for the likes of, I would say the Bowser Express from World Bowser, so even then though, it's pretty cool. So, for the looks of it though, is the fact that as far as this level suggests, it's kind of like how it does in the previous train levels, except that you can actually grab yourself some coins from this place. And everything else is entirely gold, very much like after New Super Mario Bros. 2 exists. Well, granted though, New Super Mario Bros. 2 is easily the weakest 2D Mario games in my opinion, probably due to how the fact that there's not much of a challenge. But I digress. So this is another example of how the fact that you can get a lot of extra lives in this game, even though despite the absence of the, getting to the top of the flagpole will not reward you for a 1-up. But at least this level is a really good level to actually grind from not only coins, but also extra lives as well, so... And yeah, you can also, as you can see, that if you manage to grab a shell and actually just press the ZR button immediately, you can actually ride on it. You can actually take a ride on this inside the shell. So even then, though, don't get used to it though, because if you manage to use it for a longer amount of time, you get dizzy every once in a while. So even then, though, just use it wisely. So even then, though, you weren't able to see how this is going. So yeah, everything else is all rich and hunky-dory for this part, doesn't it? So however though, they will disappear every once in a while if you manage to finish this particular bonus area, unless if you manage to continuously play for those levels again, or even especially noticeable, if you accidentally died in this level, I'm not kidding, there's actually a way you can die in this level. If you somehow die in this level, then you would not able to actually play this level again, unless it appears again. So, that was the only time that you do need to worry about, because even then the thing actually auto-scrolls itself, so... Kind of like how it does it in Super Mario Bros. 3, in this rare airship, that you can actually grab a continuous amount of coins on that particular secret airship. But even then, as far as memories goes, that's all I can say about the gold train. I think it's actually a pretty, the recommendable thing if you want to grind with more extra lives throughout dispersal, which even then though, still looks good nonetheless, but even then though, fantastic as a result. So the extra thing number 2 in LC forms of, how the fact that once you get to the title screen over there, you probably notice there's actually this familiar icon onto the bottom left corner. That's only because, if you're expecting there's actually 2 different methods you can see what this icon appears. I believe this could be ranging from if you actually get yourselves any extra data from the likes of New Super Luigi U DLC download from the likes of New Super Mario Bros. U, or even getting the physical release of New Super Luigi U if you don't have New Super Mario Bros. U, or even complete the game for the very first time. Which this means you actually unlock yourselves, you want to play Luigi Bros, a Luigi version of this classic arcade version. Which this means you have the ability to actually play Luigi Bros, which is more accurately the Luigi's version of Mario Bros back in the arcade machines. So even then though, that, when it first launches in 1983, upon its releasing on. So, actually, let's go ahead and just start our new game here. So let's go ahead and reset this. Yeah, if you're probably familiar with this menu right there, they actually have it between 1 or 2 players. So yeah, as it says 1983 to 2013, that's only because of how the fact that, well, that was the year of Luigi for 30 years of his life. So, yeah, you can actually just manage to play multiple versions of Luigi's. Well, there's one from, well, original color scheme from the original NES counterpart, and even the Player 1 version of Luigi, which functions as the modern version of Luigi as far as his current color overalls. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. And this is where before when NES Remix 2 comes along, that somehow the fact that we'll get into, I believe we could actually discuss upon the NES, oh wow, I'm suck at this game. I think the reason being for that is because the physics themselves are super slippery. And also the jump physics is slightly awkward. Kinda like how it does it in Ice Climber for the NES. Which, if you ever played Ice Climber before, then it feels really awkward when it comes to jump angles. So even then though, that, yeah. Sometimes you over bypass those little particular panels over there. So this originally came from Mario Bros. Again, from the likes of originally first released in the arcade machines back in 1983. But then later on it just managed to re-releasing it for obviously the most famously the NES, of course. And this is where Luigi's first appearance on was actually forms of this game. In the forms of just in Mario Bros. Because even then that's what it actually represents from. So, For this game, it's very simple. It's basically the archaic style of game. It's basically like, if you manage to complete a level, then you would able to actually realize how the fact that, what you do is basically just kill all sorts of enemies and then you move on to the next. So that's all there is to say about this. So, of course you do have the power block, which can actually distract any of these enemies, of course. So even then though, if you want to actually get rid of these enemies faster, then simply just able to use the power block with just wisely as a result. Every once in a while we're gonna have to go for these bonus games, which all you have to do is basically we have to go through grabbing all these coins. I believe you only have to grab like 10 of them, so even then though, yeah. And also this game did also came out on during the likes of Atari 2600, and especially noticeable in the likes of the Super Mario Bros. 3 in the Super Mario All-Stars version, because in that version of Super Mario Bros. 3, you can actually just manage to duel with either Mario and Luigi, just to manage to able to deal with a, you know, the versus match basically, and the same applies to the NES version as well. And later on, in the likes of the Game Boy Advance, which is especially noticeable in Super Mario Bros. Soccer, even for Mario Luigi Superstar Soccer as a result, Mario Bros. Did also comes with it for the likes of all 5 of those games. So, yeah, it's interesting, and especially noticeable how the fact that you can actually play multiplayer, not only 1 player, but 4 players as a result. But only on the Game Boy Advance version as a result, so yeah, that's all I can say about Luigi Bros. It's basically just a Luigi skin version of Mario Bros. We all know and love. So even then though, that's pretty interesting. So, as you guys can clearly see, we're actually on a different profile at the moment, which is our current main profile at the moment. That's only because we're actually going to be transported back to World 1, because much like how it does it in both Super Mario 3D Land and New Super Mario Bros. 2, both on the 3DS, is the fact that there's actually a way we can actually able to perform a infinite one-up trick, while simply just able to select this one level alone. I don't think it actually worked in any other levels, I don't think. But this is the level I can really think of, and that's the forms of the Koopa Troopa cave. So once we hit into there, then we need to find out certain points until we actually get ourselves this particular way to get ourselves infinite one-ups, which, as you guys can clearly tell, we got ourselves 391 one-ups. And then basically, that much like how it does in Super Mario 3D Land, if you want to get yourselves the infinite one-up trick work, then you would able to clarify that you need to be able to actually just, oh goodness gracious me. So yeah, if you manage to leave onto a shelf for too long, then yeah, you get dizzy every once in a while. So even then, luckily though, it's only for a second, so if you manage to get back up. So, yeah, so, because of that though, you know, much like in Super Mario 3D Land, and especially noticeable in New Super Mario Bros. 2, you do get yourselves a 3 crowns icon if you manage to obtain, like, I would say 1,110 lives, which is the only maximum 1-ups you probably can get. So, it doesn't usually require anything for 100% completion, unlike in New Super Mario Bros. 2. But even then though, that, the only way you need to notice right off the bat though is the fact that, well, obviously this might take a while, but even then though, that, it's entirely optional. It's up to your choice though, really. Unless if you're having a hard time on these other levels, especially Champions Road, I highly recommend doing that method, especially noticeable if you're having a hard time on that level, which I established that earlier ago. So, anyway though. So as we expected, that if you ever played through New Super Mario Bros. On the DS, and especially noticeable in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, New Super Mario Bros. 2, and even New Super Mario Bros. U, New Super Luigi U, seriously, there's so many 2D Mario games of this little particular system what we're talking about. And even especially noticeable in Super Mario 3D Land, there are some stars you're about to be collecting for your actual profile screen. Once again, there are 5 in total, which even then though, that we can actually discuss upon when we actually get into later. So even then though, that, yeah. So the reason being for that is the fact that, recently, there's a perfect time to actually end this Let's Play off during that time. That, today, that Super Mario Odyssey has been just recently released today. Both on international release. So even then though, that I was so looking forward to it, and I've heard from a lot of reviews on that particular game, it's been perfect as a result. Yep, expecting IGN is doing a very good job for actually doing a review of Super Mario Odyssey, which thankfully gives us a 10 out of 10, which even then though, such a masterpiece, just like how it does in Super Mario Galaxy 2. So even then though, it's a pretty pleasant surprise. So I think what that's been going for here is the fact that they got so shocked if the fact that, yeah, So, there's also another thing we'd like to showcase off for this extra stuff of how this game offers, and that was the forms of these two different warp zones, which I say that because much like in Super Mario 3D Land, there are a grand total of 2 warp zones we can actually get into. There's 2 levels in total we can only get access to. What I found is super strange is the fact that they usually share the exact same number-based levels. Like you see why in just a moment once we actually just manage to get ourselves our life counters going up. Although you can skip this part if you manage to put up to that link description in the below the video. So even then though, that if you want to actually get into those warp zone section, then you can pretty much guarantee that we're gonna have to go into this certain minutes or so. So even then though, this can take a while, but even then though, that's only because as you can see that we actually wasted about 300 or seconds or so. Or even 200 seconds as a result for that matter, Sonic. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna be originally saying there. So anyway though. So again, not much I can tell. Well, recently today we've managed to get ourselves a Super Mario Odyssey copy, which even then though, that it was so sweet. And also that, I suppose I realized about something is that it does come with the Jump Up Superstar lyrics stuff, which even then though, that's actually really cool. So even then though, we can actually just sing along for that particular song like dozens amount of days and stuff like that. So yeah, it's interesting. So, yeah, that's all I can really say about getting the infinite one-up trick. You can simply just able to do it like multitude of ways, but even then though, I always go for that way because even then though, that's the easiest way to get to it. So, even then though, that it might be really difficult sometimes because even then though, especially when in a 3D plane. So even then though, that it's really easy in a 2D plane, especially in the new Super Mario Bros. 2 case. But unfortunately though, for the 3D plane, it makes it a little bit more tougher. So, yeah, as you can see, we actually got ourselves our first crown, so even then though, our aim for this is the fact that we need to aim for 3 crowns, which again, if you manage to reach over about 1,110 extra lives, then you would able to get yourselves 3 crowns icon to your lives counter. So, yeah, it's a pretty cool way to actually deal with this kind of stuff, but even then though, Sonic, we're actually wasting time. Don't worry, Sylvester, we'll get to this point because even then though, as far as I've been heard, this level wasn't nearly as long as it used to be, and quite frankly though, there's going to be a green clock around here somewhere, which actually adds up to us 100 seconds, so even then we'll get to that way. So yeah, there we go, we got ourselves an infinite one-up trick in Super Mario 3D World. Recommend using this particular level alone, because this makes it a little bit easier, because as a result, not only that, they also contains a whole bunch of Koopa Troopas as a result too. So yeah, that's the way you can get yourselves the infinite one-up trick slash 3 crowns one-up life counter. So yeah, you get the idea. The next extra thing we're going to be showing case of, as we established earlier, and those are forms of the warp zones themselves. Much like Super Mario 3D Lands, there are a total of 2 warp zones, which there's one in this level, and in order to actually get to it, I highly recommend using the catsuit power-up in order to reach it. So even then, once you reach this point, then yeah, this is the only time we need to use the catsuit power-up on this particular location. And then climb up here, and then there you find the orange warp pipe, which I believe this actually leads you to World 2. So even then though, once you enter here, you skip the entire portion of World 1 that the levels you haven't sort of explored yet, and that way, this will actually instantly warp you into World 2. So yeah, kinda like it does in 3D Land. And there's also the second level that we're going to be showing case off, and that was the forms of World 4-2. Which even then though, in order to actually get the second warp zone is the fact that once again, much like it does in the previous level, which was World 1-2, you need to use a catsuit power-up in order to actually climb for this wall, and then you find yourselves the orange warp pipe. And then, this will actually warp you to instantly into World 5, which much like before, you skip the entire portion of World 4, so even then though, that's, yeah. Which again, just like in 3D Land, which it sort of feels a bit similar between these two titles, with those warp zones between World 1 and World 1-2 and World 4-2, which they are kind of weirdly similar. So anyways, we actually did cut off screen ourselves for this point right there, because as you can see, we got ourselves 3 characters all in one screen. That's only because of how the fact that, you know how the fact that there's 5 last stems we're gonna have to grab for this entirety of the game? Because basically, we're actually gonna be discussing through how to get these 5 stars in this game. So even then, yeah. As you can see here, we're actually going to be doing this the easiest way in order to actually get yourselves. The only thing is a little bit too bummer, I find, is the fact that, taking a note from Sonic Heroes for the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and the Xbox, you have to complete the game 4 times in order to actually see the true ending of the game, or the last story as a result. And basically, all you have to do in this particular, the only way you can get the last 5 stars in Super Mario 3D World is the fact that you need to actually complete all the entirety of the levels with all 5 characters. So as you can see, we actually did manage to complete all the courses as Peach. So what happens was though is the fact that if you manage to achieve that, you manage to get yourselves one of the character stamps. So in this case, we got ourselves our Peach stamp. So yeah, well done. You've completed all the courses at playing as Peach. So you get yourselves a stamp as a result. So this goes the same applies to how it does it for Mario and Luigi, Toad, and especially Rosalina. So this might be a little bit of a tedious process to do, especially if you're actually playing this on your own. Well, thankfully though, there's actually an alternative way you can able to do this successfully, which, thanks to Game Explain, did actually explain for this particular hint, which I'll put his link into the description below the video, so I can highly recommend you guys for that particular video you're definitely going to be watching. Especially noticeable how the fact that if you have a tiring time for actually playing the entire level like 5 times, but even then though, if you manage to replay the level like twice, possibly third if you made some certain mistakes, I highly recommend you actually gather 4 playable characters almost near to the flagpole, and then you suggest you're able to actually use the Wii U Pro Controller or the Wii Remote sideways as a result. Then you should be able to actually clarify you need to gather those 4 players almost near to the flagpole. And yeah, this is what the multiplayer gimmick looks like. It's the fact that you get yourselves a score tally, which even though this actually represents when someone gets the most score wins. So even then, what happens is that you get yourselves a crown on your forehead. So even then, that's yeah, it's interesting. So, yeah, that's all I can say, and it's easily the most recommendable way if you actually have yourselves a little bit of a tedious time for playing through all these levels again. Especially if you manage to get yourselves your spare controllers, even for the Wii U Pro Controller, or even spare Wii Remotes, and you can definitely do it that way. So, there we go. And as you can see, we got ourselves our gold stars on top of the golden flagpoles, which actually represents you managed to completely done with everything on this respective levels, which originally, that if you manage to grab all 3 of these green stars, expecting 10 from some of these Mystery House levels, and even some of the Captain Toad levels for 5 green stars, you probably notice that you got yourselves green star on the very top of that golden flagpole. But in here, that as you can tell, we got ourselves our golden flagpoles, or in this case, golden stars, onto that top of the flagpoles, means you've done everything on that particular level. And similarly, you got yourselves a tiny paw mark on the top right corner, which means it represents, you get yourselves 100% completion in each world. So even then though, if you want to desperately need to complete this game, you have to do a multitask, like, you know, collect all the green stars, which is usually 380, and also stamps you have to collect, which is about 85 in total. And also complete all the levels with all 5 characters, so it's quite a multitask. So even then, much more multitask than the likes of Super Mario 3D Land. And especially noticeable in Super Mario Galaxy 2. Granted though, in Super Mario Galaxy 2, you do collect like 120 green stars as a result, so even then though, yeah. So yeah, as you can see, that I managed to lose some of my lives, probably due to multiplayer do usually share extra lives, kind of like how it does in the multiplayer in the likes of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. So, yeah, it's a kind of a bad thing for my part. So anyways, let's go ahead and get onto our file selection screen, and as you can see, we got ourselves 5 stars into our disposal, which will actually tell you how to actually get yourselves 5 stars into your profile. For star number 1, this is basically we have to beat Bowser at the very end of the game. And I believe the second star you have to grab all the green stars, worlds 1 through Flower, and step number 3, or star number 3, sorry, you have to grab all these stamps from worlds 1 through Star. Because I say Star because, you know, World Mushroom and Flower doesn't contain any star stamps to collect. So, and same goes for star number 4, is the fact that we need to grab all these golden flagpoles in all the levels. Well, worlds 1 through Flower. And finally, star number 5 is the fact that we need to actually complete every single levels with all 5 of these playable characters. So yeah, it's a quite, again, multitask there. And as you can see, we got ourselves our sparkles, much like how it does it previously. But that's only because we're actually going to be saving that for last, because even then though, if you do realize is how the fact that once you beat the main game for the very first time, you do realize you get yourselves a retries particular parts on this bottom part of the file selection screen, which means it actually represents how much deaths you had. So even then though, kind of like in Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Super Mario 3D Land, is the fact that it can actually show you how much deaths you had. So speaking of deaths, we actually got ourselves our new fresh files starting up, because you know how the fact that in the Super Mario 3D Land, and especially New Super Mario Bros. 2 and New Super Mario Bros. U, that you only die like 5 times in order to actually assist you for this particular point of the level. Which, speaking of such, if you die like 5 times in Super Mario 3D World, much like how it does in Super Mario 3D Land, you get yourselves a special item if you're having a hard time in a level. So take this level for instance, then I might as well have to sacrifice myself right there. So yeah, that too bad music thing is actually heavily borrowed from Super Mario Bros. 3. So anyways, when you die like 5 times only in the level, you probably notice there's the assist block appears. So even then though, once you just manage to pop that out, then you get yourselves a white Tanuki Mario, which much like how it does in Super Mario 3D Land, it just makes you invisible for the entire time, which same goes for the likes of the white raccoon power-up from New Super Mario Bros. 2. So even then though, that you pretty much guarantee you're going to be invisible for the entire time, and there's not much anything else to say about this here. So even then, that's kind of like in Super Mario 3D Land, that if you're a hardcore gamer like we do, that just completely ruins my experience all in all. So, well, however though, the difference is here between 3D Land and New Super Mario Bros. 2, I feel like. Thanks to Game Explain mentioned to me how the fact that, you can actually able to actually replay the levels again without even using the white raccoon power-up, or the white Tanuki power-up I should say. That, although conveniently enough though, if you manage to use it by complete accident, then the sparkles won't appear. But luckily though, you can manage to make them appear while able to replay the level again, but without using the assist block. So, yeah, it's a pretty easy way to understand. So even then though, that, yeah. And that was it basically, ladies and gentlemen. That was all anything else to say about the extra stuff of how this game offers. And from what I understand from my overall of Super Mario 3D World, is a pretty amazing game. Even the best Wii U game for the Mario series as a result. So even then, definitely recommend it if you have those who'd be very curious. So that was it for our Let's Play of Super Mario 3D World. So this is me, Sonic, and Sylvester here. And tune in next time for the 3D Mario games Let's Play wise, it's definitely Super Mario Odyssey. So yeah, see you guys then.